The developments, the reports that Iran is striking a US-run military base in Qatar.
The Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours. The United States will, quote, hit and obliterate their various power plants, starting with the biggest first.
2:13 a.m. near Bandar Abbas, Iran, Brigadier General Arman Sadeghi is studying a wall of glowing launch grids inside an underground command chamber cut deep into coastal rock. In 9 minutes, everything he believes about hardened bunkers, missile salvos, and strategic intimidation will be shattered. Above him, the Strait of Hormuz looks black and still. Beneath him, a war is already starting to breathe. This is how a 90-minute hunt begins. Outside, the Gulf is calm. Tankers move through one of the most important maritime choke points on Earth. Roughly a fifth of the world's seaborne oil trade still passes through these waters, which is why every radar sweep, every patrol route, every heat signature matters here. To the south, Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar glows under floodlights, one of the largest American military hubs in the region. To the southeast, Al Dhafra Air Base in the United Arab Emirates sits on alert with fighters, tankers, and surveillance aircraft. U.S. Navy destroyers equipped with Aegis combat systems are on station in the Gulf and Arabian Sea. Patriot batteries are dug in. THAAD crews are awake. F-35s are fueled. Imagine you're here on the night shift, sweat drying under body armor, the smell of jet fuel hanging in hot air, and you still think this is just another tense night in a tense region. It isn't. Because in this fictional scenario, built on real geography and real military systems, Tehran's hardliners have made a decision. Not a full-scale war. Not yet. Something they believe is smarter, sharper, controlled. A calibrated strike designed to shock Washington, humiliate Gulf partners, and prove that Iran can still hold the region's arteries by the throat. The plan is simple on paper. Overwhelm air defenses with a mixed package. First, ballistic missiles for speed and shock. Then cruise missiles for precision. Then one-way attack drones to clutter radar screens, drain interceptors, and force mistakes. One punch, 3 layers, one message. Your bases are vulnerable, your ships are exposed, and your umbrella can be pierced. Inside the underground war room, Sadeghi believes the math favors him. He has 14 Zulfiqar short-range ballistic missiles queued from mobile launchers dispersed inland. He has 18 Pave land attack cruise missiles programmed to weave low over the Gulf. He has 42 Shahed series one-way attack drones prepared to flood the battle space behind them, 74 incoming threats, against what he assumes will be a confused defensive response spread across multiple countries, multiple commands, and multiple seconds of hesitation. That is the key to his confidence. Hesitation, political delay, human lag. He thinks the Americans will intercept, absorb, posture, and then argue. He thinks buried fiber links, decoy launch sites, and 80 feet of reinforced rock make this chamber untouchable. He thinks tonight he is the predator. But there's a problem with his plan. What Sadeghi doesn't account for is information dominance already wrapped around his operation like wire. U.S. and allied intelligence have been tracking unusual vehicle movement around Bandar Abbas for 48 hours. Persistent overhead surveillance has monitored fuel trucks moving at night. Even signal specialists have mapped bursts of encrypted traffic hopping between coastal relays and inland transporter erector launchers. A cyber intrusion nobody in the tunnel even suspects has quietly tagged portions of the command network. And the biggest flaw of all? The moment Sadeghi's staff shifts from planning to execution, they have to transmit. Briefly, carefully, but enough. Enough for space-based infrared warning, enough for electronic support aircraft, enough for fusion cells at Al Udeid and aboard ships at sea to stop guessing and start confirming. They thought the rock above them made them invisible. They forgot that in modern war, invisibility is not about concrete. It's about silence. At 2:22 a.m., the first signs hit Allied systems. A rivet joint listening platform catches a spike in command traffic. An MQ-9 picks up movement near a launcher dispersal area west of Bandar Abbas. 16 seconds later, the first ballistic launch flashes against the desert. Then another. Then 4 more. The Defense Support Program's successor satellites see the heat bloom instantly. Data drops into command nodes almost in real time. AN/TPY-2 radar begins building tracks. Spy radars aboard Aegis destroyers lock in. The entire warning chain compresses into pure urgency. Sirens rip across Al Udeid. Shelter alarms light at Al Dhafra. Pilots sprint. Missile crews snap upright. Battery commanders stop talking and start ordering. You're there now in the command post. Screens filling. Voices sharpening. Coffee knocked over. Someone says, "Confirmed launch." Someone else says, "This is not exercise." Heart pounding. This is real. The first wave is built for terror. 14 Zolfagars climbing hard, accelerating into ballistic arcs meant to split across Qatar and the UAE. They are fast, maneuverable in the terminal phase, and dangerous precisely because defenders have so little time. 4 seconds. That's all it takes for the room to shift from warning to engagement authority. In the Gulf, an Aegis destroyer pushes out standard missile interceptors. Farther back, a THAAD battery receives its track files and commits. The sky above the region becomes a layered hunt. High altitude first. Kill the fastest threats furthest away. If even a few survive, Patriot PAC-3 MSE batteries will have seconds to finish the job closer in. Could you make that call knowing a wrong decision means an airbase, a hangar, a dormitory, a fuel farm erupts below? Arbor Minute 1. The first interception. A bright white slash in the upper dark. One ballistic missile gone, then 2 more, then another pair. THAAD takes 3. Aegis takes 4. One Zolfagar sheds debris in a dazzling spray that falls harmlessly into open water. Another tries to maneuver late, diving toward Qatar, and Patriot crews on the ground answer with 2 PAC-3 MSEs rising like thrown spears. Direct hit. Then another. Final tally on the ballistic wave. 14 launched, 14 destroyed. Not a breakthrough, not a crack in the shield, a total failure of the opening punch. But the battle is only widening. At 2:28 a.m., the cruise missiles arrive at low altitude, the dangerous band where terrain, sea clutter, and curvature make detection harder and reaction time uglier. 18 Pavas skim in from staggered bearings. I've trying to exploit the seams between radar coverage and force defenders to divide attention. This is where training matters. This is where integration matters more. F-35. As already airborne from regional bases, receive shared tracks through the network and begin hunting beyond visual range. A pair of F-15Es push into firing geometry. Naval radars refine the picture. Ground batteries hold until the lines are clean. 1 missile, then 3, then 5. Then the horizon begins to flash. AIM-120Ds streak out first, invisible except for brief motor burn, punching 2 cruise missiles from the sky before they can descend lower. A third, Pave vanishes under an SM-6 intercept launched from the sea. Patriots grab 4 more in quick succession, one fragment so close to the water that burning wreckage hisses into the Gulf like molten rain. Another manages to press farther south, just long enough for a base defense network to engage at shorter range. One sharp burst, gone. Pilots call splash after splash after splash. By the time the last surviving cruise missile attempts a terminal weave toward an aircraft shelter at Al Dhafra, it is already dead and just hasn't realized it yet. 18 launched, 18 destroyed. Now comes the clutter package, the swarm. 42 Shahed drones droning low and dirty, each one cheap enough to expend, dangerous enough to kill, and useful enough to force expensive responses. This is where weaker defenses can get dragged into a bad trade. But the defenders aren't fighting one system against one threat. They're fighting as a lattice. Fighters hit what they can at range. Electronic warfare pushes confusion into drone navigation. Ground-based guns, short-range missiles, and counter-UAS systems take the rest in layers around critical sites. You're on that perimeter now, hearing the ugly lawnmower buzz getting louder in the dark. You look up and see blinking silhouettes crawling in. Families are sleeping back home. You have seconds. Do you trust the radar? Do you trust your training? You have to. Minute 11. The first drone line breaks apart under air-to-air fire. Minute 14. Electronic attack pulls several off-course into empty desert. Minute 17. Base defense systems around Al Udeid and Al Dhafra start harvesting the leakers at shorter range. 30mm bursts, short-range interceptors, tracer fire climbing. One Shahed detonates over a maintenance yard, showering metal fragments but causing no strategic damage. Another slams into empty ground near a perimeter road. The rest die in sequence. 42 launched, 40 destroyed in the air, 2 impact non-critical areas, 0 operational paralysis, 0 airfield closure, 0 strategic gain. Their 74 threat package has produced noise, debris, and proof of one thing only: the shield works. And while Sadeghi is still waiting for reports of burning runways and dead aircraft, Something colder is already moving toward him, because the real American response in this fictional scenario is not rage, it is sequence. First defend, then isolate, then erase the enemy's ability to repeat. Within minutes of the first confirmed launch, battle damage analysts, signal specialists, and targeteers fuse the missile tracks with pre-existing intelligence on the underground command complex coordinating the strike. The launch authority did not come from the mobile crews alone. It came from a hardened node near Bandar Abbas, buried beneath layered security, linked to coastal missile units, and guarded by the IRGC personnel Sadeghi believed would never face ground assault. He is still receiving delayed reports inside the chamber when the order reaches forward commanders. Prepare a direct action package. Not symbolic retaliation, not a warning shot, a decapitation raid. At 2:34 a.m., the counterstroke begins. Submarines and surface combatants in the region launch Tomahawk land attack missiles against known air defense sites, communications relays, and coastal radar nodes tied to the command complex. Named EA-18G Growlers begin saturating the spectrum with electronic attack. EF-35s punch forward to suppress surviving sensors and provide real-time targeting updates. A B-2 Spirit, already airborne on a pre-planned contingency route in this fictional scenario, holds outside the densest threat ring, ready to strike if the tunnel entrances cannot be opened any other way. This is not spectacle. It is systematic dismantling. Bases first? No. Tonight the focus is narrower and more ruthless. Blind the node, sever the links, trap the leadership, and deny future launches before sunrise. Now the Rangers move. 72 Army Rangers from the 75th Ranger Regiment, supported by Air Force Special Tactics personnel and flown by the 161st Special Operations Aviation Regiment, now lift off aboard MH-47G Chinooks and MH-60M Blackhawks from a forward staging site in the Gulf. Above them, F-35s and armed Overwatch platforms sanitize the route. An AC-13OJ Ghost Rider orbits outside the densest air defense envelope, ready for precise fire support if needed. The helicopters skim low over black water and coastal terrain, using terrain masking, timing, and jamming to compress the enemy's reaction window. Every man on board knows the target is not just a bunker, it is a nerve center, hardened doors, internal blast walls, armed guards, narrow kill zones. You're in that helicopter now, red lights washing over faces, rotor vibration in your teeth, no speeches, no drama, just checks on magazines, breaching charges, night vision, oxygen, radio hand squeezes. 90 minutes from launch to capture. That is the mission clock. At 2:49 a.m., the first kinetic shaping strikes hit the complex. Not the main chamber. The exits, ventilation points, external guard towers, power transformers, nearby barracks, precision-guided munitions collapse one entrance and crater the approach road. A Tomahawk cuts a relay mast in half. Iranian defenders finally understand this is no ordinary reprisal. They scramble. Trucks reverse. Searchlights snap on. Small arms fire rakes empty darkness. But their local air picture is broken. Their communications are distorted, and above them, the Americans own the timing. Rangers touch down in two waves on a rocky stretch less than 2 kilometers from the primary entrance. They move fast, disciplined, almost silent, until the first sentry turns and sees shapes where there should be none. Then everything detonates into motion. The outer fight lasts less than 7 minutes. Suppressed fire, breach charges, fragmentation, and dust. One guard post goes dark, then another. A technical mounted with a heavy machine gun tries to pivot and is destroyed by Overwatch before it completes the turn. Rangers hit the security buildings, clear the checkpoint, and split into assault and blocking elements. Iranian defenders are numerous enough to resist, but not organized enough to stop a force that has rehearsed tunnel assaults, hostage recovery, and night raids for years. Training is the difference now. Not numbers, not slogans, not the myth of hardened ground. Training. Each corridor is mapped against ISR, derived schematics updated minutes before touchdown. Each team knows which shaft leads to power, which blast door leads to the command tier, which junction can become a kill box if they stall. Inside the bunker, the air changes. Concrete dust, diesel fumes, electrical smoke. Emergency lights flicker red through ventilation haze. Sadeghi finally understands the flaw in his thinking. He assumed the hunt ended at interception. He assumed the other side would be satisfied with surviving. He assumed the underground room made him uncatchable. Instead, the predators came through the door. He orders a fallback to an inner chamber and attempts to destroy hard drives, but power interruptions and jammer spillover slow everything. Guards drag steel cabinets across hallways. One officer screams for the secure line and gets static. Another reaches for a sidearm with shaking hands. This is the moment plans die. Not on paper, not on television, but in a narrow passage when men realize the world above has changed faster than their bunker could. At 3:06 a.m., Rangers breach the first internal blast door. Flash, concussion, entry. 2 defenders down before they orient. Another room cleared. Then another. The assault stack flows like machinery. Sharp commands, muzzle flashes, boots hitting wet concrete. Somewhere deeper inside, a wounded guard fires blindly down a corridor, and the rounds spark off reinforced walls. Could you keep moving through that? Through the ringing ears, the tunnel heat, the certainty that every corner might hold a final stand? The lead teams do. A combat controller relays updated layout changes as a drone overhead spots personnel trying to flee through an auxiliary shaft. The blocking force cuts them off. An interpreter shouts surrender instructions that disappear into smoke and panic. Minute 63 of the operation. The inner command room is located. It is smaller than outsiders would imagine, denser, uglier, more human. Consoles, maps, burn bins, half-destroyed computers, men who expected distance and found contact. A final security team attempts to hold the choke point. The fight is violent and brief. When it ends, Brigadier General Arman Sadeghi is dragged from behind an overturned communications cabinet, disoriented, bruised, alive. Captured with him are encrypted drives, launch authentication records, targeting files, and personnel lists linking the failed strike to a larger network of missile and drone units. That matters as much as the man himself, maybe more. In modern war, information is not just evidence. It is ammunition for the next decision. Extraction begins immediately. No lingering, no theatrical flag raising. The objective is capture, exploitation, and denial. Engineers place charges on critical command equipment and tunnel access points. Sensitive materials are bagged. Wounded are moved. By 3:21 a.m., the assault force is pulling back to the landing zone under overwatch. Iranian quick reaction elements are finally converging from farther inland, but too late and too fragmented. One tries to push down the access road and is broken apart by precision fires. Another stalls when communications fail again. Overhead, the same network that defended the bases now protects the withdrawal. Helicopters flare in, load fast, lift hard, and disappear low into the night. 90 minutes after the launch order that was supposed to humiliate the region, the commander who gave it is in restraints on an aircraft headed out over black water. Final tally in this scenario: 74 threats launched, 72 destroyed before impact, 2 strike non-critical areas, 0 strategic objectives achieved. On the other side, 1 underground command complex rendered inoperable, multiple coastal radar and relay sites destroyed, launch records seized, and an IRGC regional commander captured alive. Operation duration from first missile launch to extraction window closing, 68 minutes. Total raid clock from infiltration package launch to secured withdrawal, 90 minutes. Less time than a movie. Less time than most people spend scrolling on their phones after midnight. Yet in that window, an entire theory of coercion collapses. And that is the deeper lesson. Modern deterrence is no longer just about owning powerful weapons. It is about connecting sensors, shooters, cyber access, command authority, and disciplined people faster than your enemy can adapt. Iran, in this fictional scenario, does not fail because it lacks courage or hardware. It fails because it believes volume can substitute for integration, secrecy can substitute for silence, and hardened concrete can substitute for information control. They launched a swarm. They triggered a hunt. They aimed for paralysis and got exposure instead. That is what future conflict keeps revealing. The side that sees, shares, and decides first turns the battlefield into a trap. So which decision was most critical? Launching the interceptors early, authorizing the decapitation raid, or building the intelligence picture days before the first missile ever fired? Debate below. Hit subscribe for in-depth military breakdowns.